You're listening to the Voice of Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
An iHeartRadio station. Now, a special program on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
We will have a partnership with all the level of government to finance the infrastructure.
We just have to be human. We have to respect the English community in a way that they feel understood.
The city of Montreal, for every dollars coming from the government of Quebec, we put 40 cents. It's systematic.
There's no way we're going to increase the supply of housing if we're not working with the private sector.
People want change. It's my job to show to Montrealers that I am the change.
I'm a progressive, but I'm a pragmatic, and I listen to people.
This is the Montreal Mayoral Debate on the Elias Makos Show.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CJAD 800's Montreal Mayoral Debate. I'm Elias Makos. My pleasure to be with you this morning. Now, over the next hour, the two frontrunners in the race, Projet Montréal's Luc Rabouin and Ensemble Montréal's Soraya Martinez Ferrada, will debate key issues in the following subjects: housing and homelessness, public safety, mobility, the economy, language, and basic municipal services. We will also allow some time for Montrealers to get to know the candidates. Now, there are other candidates for mayor, but none of them met the low threshold of polling at 10% in a major poll to participate in this morning's debate. We have nevertheless invited those candidates to join CJAD and this show on another broadcast. Let's welcome our candidates. From Projet Montréal, Luc Rabouin, and from Ensemble Montréal, Soraya Martinez Ferrada. Bienvenue à vous deux.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you here. So yesterday was a significant day on the campaign trail. Monsieur Rabouin, you came out swinging against Madame Martinez Ferrada. You said she's running an opportunistic campaign, that voting for her would be a return to the laissez-faire free market years of Gerard Tremblay. Madame Martinez Ferrada, you hit back, saying Projet Montréal was turning towards a very American tactics into disinformation, into propaganda positions that I have never taken, and personal attacks. Now, the polls have been consistent. I don't know is leading. Voters don't seem to know much about either of you and are seemingly apathetic about this upcoming election. With that in mind, introduce yourselves. What should voters know about you? And why do you want to be mayor? Madame Martinez Ferrada, you won the coin toss. You will go first.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you for having this debate. So I want to ask a question to the listeners of your show this morning. Ask yourself, is the city doing better than 8 years ago? And I think it's not. It is not. And when you look at 63% of Montreal that want to change, that's why I decided to run. Because as a Minister of Tourism, as a Minister of Economic Development, I went all across the country. And every time I would come back to Montreal, I felt that Montreal went silent when other cities were speaking loudly about what they had to offer, not only to the citizens, but for the country. I want Montreal, to go back to its capacity to dream, to have ambition. And to do that, we have to manage the city better. We have to tackle the issues of homelessness, of housing, of mobility, of safety, of cleanness, in order to, big dream and have ambition for our city. And we as Ensemble Montréal, we're the change. You are looking for that change, and we can embody that. Not only because it's not normal for the city not to feel safe anymore, not to feel that, it's not clean enough again, but because your taxes are going up and your surfaces are going down. And we need to do better. We cannot make a mistake again. We have to make sure that we are going to be solid on the ground. I have a team. I have people that decided to run with me, like Claude Pinard, like Leslie Roberts, Stephanie Valenzuela, Zonny Moroz. We have a team already to tackle the issues of the city that are important. We have a roadmap for the 101st days, a roadmap for 4 years of our mandate, and ambition for the future of the city, and that's what I'm offering Montrealers.
Monsieur Rabouin, same thing. What do voters need to know about you, and why do you want to be mayor?
Yeah, first thing, I am a dad of two kids. I have a daughter that is 18 years old and my son is 20. And like the majority of the young adults right now, they are anxious about the rent prices because my son would like to go in an apartment, but it's so expensive that it's hard for him to do it. And they are concerned about the environment and the climate change because it's one issue that they are taking care. And my job as a mayor and a father, I want to always be able to look in their eyes and saying to them that I'm doing everything I can do for them, but for their generation also, to prepare a better future. Before I got into politics, just 6 years ago, I'm not a politician, a career politician. I just jumped in 6 years ago. I had the chance to work for the last 25 years in organizations with the mandate to improve the quality of life of people and the environment. I worked for almost 10 years as a community organizer in Lachine. I also be the executive director of the Montreal Urban Ecology Center, so I worked on urban environmental issues. And after that, the last years, I worked more on economic development type of jobs. I worked with PME Montreal to support our small businesses to grow. I worked for Desjardins in financing projects like social housing. And I lived in Paris 2 years to be the director of Communauté France there to implement the Communauté model in France. I decided to jump into politics 6 years ago and now to be the mayor of Montreal because I want to face the climate change crisis, but urgently the housing crisis. And I decided I make the decision when we decide to buy 700 units in Côte des Neiges because a big owner wanted to buy it and the city exerts its right of first refusal. So we protected 700 families, the most important transaction in the history of Montreal. And it was not possible. We did it. So now I know that I can have an impact on the life of people more than ever we did before.
You have touched on housing. It's the perfect segue to our first main topic of this debate. The calls have never been louder, and there seemingly is consensus on at least this much. We need to build more housing. We've heard this call from both left-leaning nonprofit groups and economic think tanks. One report in 2023 said the city of Montreal blocked 24,000 housing units from being built since 2017. I'll start with you, Mr. Rabouin, on this. How will you convince developers to build in Montreal?
Developers are building in Montreal. We have more than 4,500 units that are building right now. Developers develop more units in Montreal during the 8 years of Projet Montréal. If we look at average a year, more than Ensemble Montréal before and Union Montréal before. So they are building units in Montreal. We want to convince them to build more. Of course, we want to be faster, so we have to deliver, to be faster. I put in place a standard of 120 days to deliver a permit. It was not existed before in Montreal. But what is very important is that we have to build more. Everybody agrees on that, but we also have to build for everybody. So we have to build also affordable. For me, affordable housing is not an option. It's not on a volunteer base like it was in 2005 with Union Montréal and Madame Martinez Ferrada when she was in power. It was a volunteer strategy of inclusion. For me, it's mandatory. We have to include 20% of nonprofit units in every 200 units project. So this is the way to become the Vienna of North America and not like Toronto. Because Toronto, they build a lot of units, but you have to be rich to live in central neighborhoods.
So Madame Martinez Ferrada, with that in mind, of course, there was the accusation that you would give carte blanche to real estate developers. How will you convince developers, and what do you say that you would give carte blanche?
For me, that's a clear example of the propaganda that they're doing. I don't want to have a clear free-for-all. What I want to do is making sure that Montreal is a real partner, financial partner, to make those social housing, affordable housing to happen. When he just gave the number for 4,500 construction sites right now in terms of units, ask him, what was the number 7 years ago? Because that's the question. Right now, Montreal is a big donut. People are constructing in the suburbs, not in Montreal, because it's difficult to have the permits. Because of that rule that the city put in place, the 2020, where people right now, the constructor and developers are paying out their way out, and they're not constructing right now.
So, Monsieur Rabouin, what do you say? Your party has been in power for the last 8 years. Montrealers are looking, let's say, for instance, at a hippodrome site, the old Blue Bonnets, with no housing built on it. Why should anyone believe that you would be able to succeed here?
Yes, we have to build more. Hippodrome is a good example because there's no infrastructure there. So we just have an agreement with the federal government to an investment of $120 million the government will put in place. And the city of Montreal already committed for $180 million. We are there, but we need to work with the federal and the provincial government for the infrastructure. But there are a lot of projects that are in development. In Bridge Bonaventure, we just announced 2 or 3 weeks ago a project that is 800 units, 400 units by Broccolini, private market units, and 400 by a not-for-profit, because there's a partnership between Broccolini and a not-for-profit organization. We have the same thing at Îlot Voyageur, a partnership between private developers, Mondev, and Utile, a not-for-profit that developing housing for students. And why we had these partnerships, and I want to accelerate that. Why we have that? Because we had the bylaw, and the bylaw facilitates this partnership, and we want to increase that and to go further.
So here's a clear distinction, because you would get rid of the 20-20-20 rule.
I want to replace it, and I want to replace it with ambition. I want to replace it with the way that the city of Montreal can actually do business and construct those housing. So I want to go back to the question I asked him earlier. In 2021, this city had 13,000 units on construction. Right now, we're about 4,000. There's a clear drop linked to that rule that the city put in place. We need to do better. They got a gift, which was the Hippodrome, in October 2017. It was the private sector and the nonprofit that Gallup that thought about how do we construct housing on the Hippodrome, not the city. When he talked about the Utile et Mondev, that has nothing to do with the city. The private sector talked to the nonprofit and did it.
Why did it?
Well, what did it do? Because you lacked ambition. You lacked execution. The private sector and the nonprofit, Gallup, they put in place Gallup. Gallup wasn't put in place by people like Claude Pinard, who's actually running with us today.
Let me just ask you this question, Mr. Rabouin. I want to know, what do you think of the building of luxury condos?
We can build luxury condos. There's no problem about that. But we have to be sure we build also for low-income people and the middle class. And it's why we have a bylaw. If we look at Toronto and Vancouver, they build a lot. But you have to be millionaire to live there. This is not our project for Montreal. We want to be the most affordable city in North America. This is what we have to do. And this is not just a free market that will do it. And if there was partnership between private developers and not-for-profit, I like that. This is the way we have to go and to encourage. These partnerships. You did
not do that for the past 6 years. You have not done that.
These partnerships exist because we had a bylaw and they had to do it. And I would just give you another example. I was with the mayor of Lachine last week, and she presented me a huge development in Lachine East. Huge development. The first 100 units that will be built are social housing. Why? Because there's a bylaw. Because before, they just developed private market units.
So with that in mind, if you're elected mayor, how does housing look differently compared to Monsieur Rabouin's vision?
I want to make sure that the city is autonomous in the way that we can finance projects in terms of affordable and social housing. I want to make sure that we can leverage the money of our equity, our future equity that we can build in the city, to be real partners and financial partner with the private sector. Because the only way we're going to do affordable housing is that we have to construct it at the lowest cost possible, to be able to afford a tenant that will pay very low cost in terms of his rent. And the only way to do that is that we have to partner with the private sector to do that, so we can leverage the lower cost of construction.
Okay, I want to move on to the subject of homelessness. 2022 was estimated the number of homelessness in Montreal just under 5,000. Now the estimated number closer to 10,000. I'll start off with you, Madame Martinez Ferrada. A simple question: what causes homelessness?
Well, one of the things is, of course, the rents are so high. looking for a place to stay. It's sometimes there's a lot of people that can lose their home because we have a lot of renovation. We have a lot of affordable housing that's very difficult to find, and the cost of living is, it's being very difficult. So many people are losing their homes, and we have to be able to not only construct social housing, doing homes of transition to get people out of the streets into homes, but we also have to have prevention. And we actually propose some prevention measures, and this party voted against it.
So let me ask you, Mr. Rabouin, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah.
Madame Ferrada, Martinez Ferrada, pointed towards economic rents, that for homelessness. What do you think causes homelessness?
Yeah, there's two things. We have a very huge public health problem with the drug consumption, opioid, and mental health issues that everybody understands that the public health issue, it's under the responsibility of government of Quebec, and homelessness used to be also under the responsibility of government of Quebec. But the people are in our streets. They are our neighbors. And this is why I decided to embrace this problem and to show that we can do, I want to do all we can do at the city level. Even if I'm realistic, we will not resolve the problem alone. But we can do more. And it's why I propose to create 1,000 transitional units, including 500 modular homes, like they use in construction sites in the north of Quebec for workers. So it works. But we have to understand that the other part of the problem is we miss social housing. So housing for low-income people. And this is just possible when you have grants from the other level of government. And because we did not invest enough in the last years, not just in the last 5 years, we don't have these very, very affordable housing for low-income people. And Madame Martinez Ferrada was at the federal government, the government who has the most resource in Canada. And she was parliamentary secretary for housing. The situation of homelessness is everywhere in Quebec, not just in Montreal, but also in our great cities in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver. The situation hasn't improved during the last years where Madame Martinez Ferrada was in power at the government of the federal government. And now she proposed that we will be autonomous at the city of Montreal. We need the contribution. We will do our job, but we need the support.
Let me ask you, Madame Martinez Ferrada, on the issues of mental health and drug use that are clearly leading to people being on the streets. What is your strategy? What will you do about it?
So I said that we need to do more funding in terms of community organizations and outreach workers, making sure that we have the social net that our Montrealers living in the street with mental health issues and drug addictions need. There's no magic wand. You have to take the time. I've committed on working on the next 4 years on tackling encampments, have a protocol on encampments, because the idea is that you cannot dismantle them if they're going to go somewhere else. So you have to deal with the root of the issue, making sure that you're supporting and accompany the organizations in order to build the transition home. I've committed to 2,000 transitions homes. I've committed to triple the budget supporting community organizations, because every tent that we see, every encampment that we see is to show that we have failed. And we need to make sure that we are supporting not only the encampments and the people, but the neighborhoods around them.
So I just drove on Notre Dame East between here down towards the East End. I was shocked at the number of encampments that I saw. Many of them were right next to where people live, where people take their kids, where people walk their dogs. What will be your policy, Monsieur Rabouin, on encampments?
Yes. There's a judgment regarding Notre Dame encampment saying that we cannot remove the people there if we don't have any offer to be able to offer a place to stay for them. And it's why I propose the modular homes, 500, because it's the fastest way to add resources for people, to give safety for them. So this is why I propose that. And Madame Martinez Ferrada still called that tente roulotte. This is not tente roulotte. This is very safe modular homes for people, 15 rooms with a common bathroom and a kitchen. It's built for workers in the north of Quebec. So we have to go faster and to offer places, safe places for people.
I need to move on, but I will let you chime in one more time on this. On, the court ruling, right, that says you have to leave. Are you in agreement with the court ruling like that?
The court ruling that says that you can't.
The encampments stay if you cannot provide other resources. Are you in agreement with that?
Well, the answer is not if I agree. The answer is if you dismantle them, where are they going to go? You are going to displace the issue. You have to tackle the issue. You have to find solutions. Now, I think that there's no one solution. There's many solutions. But one thing we know for sure is that we need to have a coordinated approach with the police, with the community organizations, with the private sector, with the city. The city needs to have a leadership in order to tackle the issue in a coordinated way. And this administration has not done that in the past 6 years.
Okay, so we have a nice segue here to move to our next subject, which is public safety. Now, 2 weeks ago, a crack pipe was found and handled by young children on the grounds of the elementary school next to the supervised drug consumption site, the Maison Benoît Labre in Montreal. Young girl discovered the crack pipe, gave it to a 6-year-old boy at Victor Roussela Elementary School. I'll start with you in this subject, Madame Martinez Ferrada. Should there be supervised drug use sites?
Well, you have no choice than to make sure that you can give the support to people in need, because the drug addiction and the toxicity of our drugs are killing people. And this is a real issue. If we don't want to become an Edmonton and Los Angeles, we need to tackle that. And we need to make sure that we are looking into where they need to be in the right place. This administration, the Rabouin plant administration, voted for that site. That was not right. That was not the right one. We decided to put it there. They decided to put it there. Now, we have a Maison Benoît Labre that is too big and for one, and there's too many people coming. So there's an overflow that goes into the neighborhoods. And right now, the city and the neighborhoods can't live with that. It's just becoming a security issue. It's becoming a confidence issue for people that don't want to go outside anymore at night, in the morning. So we need to do better in terms of identifying smaller sites in the whole city, not only in a concentrated approach that actually creates more problem than solutions.
Monsieur Rabouin, over the course of this debate so far, both of you have actually brought up other cities. We don't want to end up like fill in the blank. So on this subject, supervised drug use sites, what are you proposing that hasn't been done in other Canadian cities like Vancouver? I mean, many of the things that are being proposed have been tried in places like Vancouver. I don't think they have worked out. So how do we end up not being like some of these Canadian cities that you've brought up?
Just to clarify that the drug injection site, this is for health. And I agree with Madame Martinez Ferrada regarding that, because we have to save life and protect people. These decisions to implement a drug site injection is a decision made by the public health authority. It's not a decision made by the city of Montreal. Regarding small emergency places for people, for homelessness people, we said that for I think 2 or 3 years, that we need small places that it's easier to integrate people in a neighborhood, and we have a lot. We have a lot in the plateau, and nobody knows because it's small scale resources. It works well. We have Le Chaînon, we have others. It works well, but every time we try to develop new resource, like we tried to buy a church in Rosemont, we tried to buy a religious building in Ahuntsic. Every time, member of the team of Ensemble Montréal mobilized against. Now, Madame Martinez Ferrada proposed to implement small resources in different neighborhoods.
So then I have to ask you this, which goes into what you're saying. For the people that live near these sites, so they live near encampments, they live near supervised drug sites, and they say, I can't go to the park with my kids. I can't walk. I feel unsafe. There are many people that say the mayor of Montreal should be thinking about those taxpayers ahead of the terrible situations, people who are suffering with drug addiction. So what is your message for those people that can't go to the park?
We have to take care of both, because people who are in the street are Montrealers. They are citizens. And we have to reinforce our measure to be sure that our public spaces and parks are available and safe for everybody. Absolutely, we have to do it, and we put in place the.
Do you have to pick who comes first? You say you have to take care of everyone, but is there an order? Who comes first when you have to make that determination?
If we are in a park for children, the children has to access their parks. This is the most important thing for me, and we have to. I just wanted to say that we put the EMIS team, équipe. That's social intervention team from the city of Montreal, paid by the city of Montreal, to facilitate cohabitation. So we add resources. It didn't exist before at the city of Montreal. And I also propose to increase the funding for the community groups who work with homelessness people. We have to increase the resources because the crisis is it's higher.
The public health issue will decide if we need an injection site or not, but the city of Montreal decides where it goes. And this administration decided that it went near a public school in the park. To your question, kids come first all the time. We need to make sure that the safety comes first. In this case, safety has gone out the window. Like, we need to go back to how do we make the neighborhood, in this case of Maison Benoît Labre, a better place for the cohabitation of the people that live beside it.
So let me just ask you, like I asked Mr. Rabouin, we've seen it done in other cities. It hasn't necessarily worked out. So what are you going to do differently to avoid the fate that we've seen in other Canadian cities?
So we need smaller spaces, and we need to work with organizations that know how to do the job. We need to make sure that we are supporting organizations to give the social net and the psychological net that they need. Now, Mr. Rabouin was president of the executive. He worked on the last budget. The budget of homelessness has not went up in the last year in this administration. So today, you are recognizing the failure of this administration to tackle the homelessness issue. And we announced tripling the budget. 2 weeks after, he said, oh, I'm going to put more money too. So at the end of the day,
that's not true.
This administration puts $9 million in homelessness. I'm going to put 30.
So, okay.
I'm going to double the support in terms of favorite mix squads to make sure that we're better supporting the safety of neighborhoods.
30 seconds for you to respond. And to get to the question, will money solve this problem?
Yeah. The first thing is that I announced during the leadership race to become the leader of Projet Montréal months ago that I will double the funding for the community groups. So it's not a new thing. And when we enter in power, it was $3 million. We tripled the budget, and now I announced that we will double it. I just want to be. We have to do the most we can, more we can, but we absolutely need to collaborate with the provincial government because we have to work together. And I'm very proud to have Gracia Kasoki-Katawa, who used to work in the public health system, the mayor of Côte-des-Neiges NDG, and she will be the number 2 of my administration, and she will be able to build on relation with the public health sector to work more efficiently together because we need to work both together.
So let's move on, still on public safety, but let's move on to another topic. The number of pro-Palestinian protests on the streets of Montreal over the past 2 years has been high and sustained. Here's a question from a listener. This is Joe. He lives in Griffintown, and here's his question for the both of you.
I believe in the right to protest, but I think that right now, at some point, enough is enough, and I know that the war is over. So if protests continue, where the streets are being blocked, there's hate being mentioned in the streets. It's very intimidating, and I just want to know what they plan to do.
So, Madame Martinez Ferrada, you're elected mayor. What do you do on this subject?
We have to agree that in a democracy, everyone has the right to protest. And this is the base and foundation of our democracy. I come from a country where dictatorship impeded us to do that. And I think we have to defend that right. But that comes with a responsibility. The right to protest is a responsibility where you need to respect, and we need to respect each other. When communities don't feel safe anymore, when communities are not only being protested in front of their homes, in their in their communities, well, people then don't feel safe. And protest has to come with that responsibility of respecting each other, saying what you need to say where you're going to protest, how you're going to do it, because that's the rules that we have given ourselves in the city.
So you will be changing the directives that the police get on how to handle these protests?
There's no directive. Police is an independent body. We have to agree that politicians don't say to police what to do. Police have a responsibility to make sure that people in the city feel safe and that the rules of engagement are respected. That's what the police needs to do. But we need, as a mayor, to say that we are expecting Montrealers to protest in a way that respects each other, respects religion, respects freedom of speech, respect who they are. And when that line is crossed, we need to say it out loud that we need to be in a city where, the vivre ensemble is respected.
Monsieur Rabouin, last 2 weeks, there's been a human rights complaint that's been filed against the city, the mayor and the police for a failure to protect the city's Jewish population. There's also been a formal legal demand against the city of Montreal. This just in the last 2 weeks. So how will you handle this issue? Will you do anything differently?
I agree that we have a right for demonstration, we have freedom in Montreal, and this is very important to protect. And we have at the same time to be sure that everybody feels safe. And when there's come from issue, we have to reinforce the intervention that to be sure if there's any increasing of racism, anti-Semitism, every thing that can people feel unsafe, we have to be close with them. And I know that Fadi Daguerre is doing it. He's meeting with communities. He's meeting with the Jewish communities in the plateau. I met them with him. He's very present. And I think we have a kind of leader at the police department that is very open-minded and work closely with communities. And this is what we have to do.
What do you think the effect of these protests have been on the city's reputation, Madame Martinez Ferrada?
I think it's been very hard on communities, and right now communities are suffering, and I think to the question of your listener, unfortunately, we're still in a very geopolitics conflict, very difficult, and that's come into the city in a way that right now communities don't feel safe, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can for them to not be scared to go out of their homes to go to school, not be scared to go into their religious institutions. And, I think that comes with the responsibility of the city to say out loud that we're expecting more of each other in the city.
I have to move it along to our next subject. Let's talk about mobility and getting around, whether it's by car, bike, public transit, or on foot. Montrealers do need to get around. Now, the last 8 years have seen a significant increase in bike infrastructure. Montreal now home to over 1,000 kilometers of bike paths. Big increase since Valérie Plante took office in 2017. It came with a substantial cost, some estimates as high as $181 million. So, Mr. Rabouin, I'll start with you here. I'll ask you, what should be faster in the city of Montreal? The average speed of a car or the average speed of a bicycle?
What has to increase is the number of people that are able to move fast in an efficient way. We know that there's congestion in every large cities in the world. That's an issue to face. And everybody knows that the best effective solution to reduce congestion is to invest massively in public transit. This is the way where we have to go. And the bike lanes, there's a lot of people there. They are using bike lanes. Just last year, 13 million of trips were done just with Bixi, not with their individual bike, just with Bixi. Montrealers are moving by bike. This is important that we offer them safe infrastructures. But what I said since the beginning of this campaign, I want to put the same level of passion and energy that we put to build this bike network for improving our bus network.
Well, let me ask you, Madame Martinez Ferrada. Our bike network is getting international attention. The Economist this week said this: Montreal's bike boom is just one example of how a new disruptive transport technology is rapidly changing cities across the rich world. It's highly energy efficient, costs almost nothing, reduces congestion and pollution, obviates the need for huge parking lots. Time magazine just called Bixi one of the top inventions of this century. Is now the time to tap the brakes on bike paths?
I think it's the time to look at what we've done and see how we continue in terms of doing better. Because right now, this administration and, Plan Rabouin's administration has done a lot very quickly in many areas without listening to Montrealers, without consulting. The impact on merchants, the impact on, seniors has been great. And I think we should be listening to everybody in the way that we are sharing our streets respectfully. I came from East End today. First time being a Montrealer, it took me an hour and 50 minutes to get here. The congestion of the city, and if you're in your car and listening to us right now, you know that the city has never been in such a paralysis in terms of traffic than it has been, because this administration has a lack of planification, a lack of sequence how to do the roads and the work on the roads. And on the Bixi thing, which are merely, sometimes this administration likes to call us out on the, I was with Union Montreal 2 years. Who made the Bixi? André Lavallée, Union Montréal. So at the end of the day, every administration knew and knows that we need to do better in terms of bike path, because we are an international city. Mobility, active mobility, collective transportation, cars, pedestrians, all of that is the mobility that we need in terms of being fluid, secure. But we need to listen to Montrealers right now that have not been listened to.
Madame Martinez Ferrada, just to continue on that, city planners would say you cannot continue to add more and more cars every year and expect traffic to get better. So how do you convince drivers to ditch their cars?
Well, we have to have good public transportation. Again, I come from the east part. If you're in Lachine, if you're in Ile Bizarre, how are you going to get downtown in the public? It's going to take you 2 or 3 hours. So we need to do better in terms of having a good transportation. Public transportation needs to be thought out in every neighborhood in a way that it makes sense, in a way that it responds to the neighborhood where you live in, the work areas that we need to get, the study work areas where we need to get, and be able to address the issue of getting into intermodal, a subway or a metro if you don't have a good transportation.
Monsieur Rabouin, I want you to listen to one of our listeners that wanted to ask this question. This is Angie in Park X.
Who will be the one who will return the 300 parking spaces, especially in Park Extension, which is a densely populated area, and remove those ridiculous bike paths? You cannot find parking. We are wasting an hour to 2 hours roaming the streets, driving around like nothing, and wasting more gas, polluting more of the air, being frustrated.
Monsieur Rabouin, is it possible that some bike paths are a mistake?
I will not be the one who will remove bike path. We had to do it. Bike path for me is part of the solution. It's not part of the problem. And people want to move by bike safely. It's a question of safety. And this is very clear. I will not remove any bike path. If there's some safety issues, we can improve it, of course. And if there's a need pull on a bike path, we just have to fill it. We don't have to wait 12 or 18 months on a moratorium to evaluate everything. So we need, it's a way to move. And you said that. More cars, every year we have more cars. The only way to remove individual cars, to reduce congestion, is investing in active transportation, like we did for the bike path, and in public transportation. We have the unblock, the blue line of the metro station. That's a good thing. Yeah. The SRB, the bus, rapid bus on P9, it works. We have twice the number of the people than before. And we have 2 very major projects that we have to follow to be sure that they will be real, the tramway to Lachine and the tramway in the east of Montreal. These are very major infrastructure that will help the mobility, but in the meantime, it's why I propose to develop an express bus network to be sure that people who are using the bus in neighborhoods that are not central neighborhoods, they have to move by bus, that they're not still jammed in the traffic.
Madame Martinez Ferrada, there are now campaign signs along some bike paths that Projet Montréal has put up saying this bike path is in danger. You need to vote Luc Rabouin in order to save it. Are some bike paths on the endangered species list if you are elected mayor?
What I said is that we need a real assessment of all bicycle paths, about all streets, roads, making sure that we have the fluidity that we need, the safety of that fluidity, the efficiency of that fluidity, and we need to make sure that that works. They made a bicycle path on Port Royal. It was never a site that was specific, that was looked into in terms of we needed one there. It's not the right space for a bicycle path that cross 50 feet of trucks every day.
Are there any bike paths that you have already identified?
No.
There's for Angie and Park X. There's nothing you've identified.
What I've asked and what I've said, we need the assessment of what are the ones that we need to look at in terms of safety, in terms of fluidity, and need to respect in terms of who lives there. What are the merchants? What I'm asking is, can we put a space for merchants to be able to get their groceries, their merchandise? They can't even have a truck to deliver. I mean, in some areas in Côte-des-Neiges and DG, there's a funeral home. They can't even have a funeral home activity because there's a bicycle path. Can we think about the impact and look at the mitigation that we need to have for everybody to be respected in the city?
Quickly.
There's always a good reason to not do a bike path because there's always issue. It's impossible to have unanimity. I was the new mayor of the Plateau when we create the Rêve on Saint-Denis Street, and the team of Ensemble Montréal was yelling against that.
Yeah, because there was no parking space at the beginning. There was no parking space. No parking space.
They
said
that we
need to have parking space, and they changed it. And now we have parking space on Saint-Denis, and it's a great Rêve. Everybody's happy about it. But they listened.
Can I finish?
But they listened. They don't listen.
Monsieur Rabouin, I'll let you finish and then move on. Yeah.
So we always had consultation, and on and the Rêve Saint-Denis is an example. We talked door to door to every merchant. So we had to do something. And now at the end of the day, the project is a huge success. We did it on Saint-Urbain. And we removed the parking on Saint-Urbain because the emergency service asked us to keep 2 lines for traffic because of emergency reason. We listened to that and we decided. We always have decision to make, and it's in a city that is already built.
So you're sacrificing merchants, you're sacrificing elderly people that can't get their medication delivered because they can't get in somewheres, the adaptation transportation sometimes can't get to, they have to walk a street to get the transportation because they can't stop in front of their house. So no, I want to have a city where we don't sacrifice anybody. And at la SDC Centre de District Central de Annecy-Cartierville, they just came out. 90% of merchants were not consulted. So don't say that you're consulting, knocking on the door and saying, by the way, there's a bicycle path coming. That's not a consultation. That is information.
It's exactly the reason why Ensemble Montréal has never developed a pedestrian street in their borough. Because we never have unanimity.
We
have
true.
to find solutions.
That is not true. Ellen Foutopoulos was mayor of the Plateau, and she started that 25 years ago. So I'm sorry.
She started where?
Don't.
A pedestrian street all the summer? Where?
Montreal, l'avenue Montréal started under Ellen Foutopoulos.
4 days.
Yes.
No, 3 months.
But that's where you start. Don't say that they didn't do it. You start somewhere and you go and you listen and you involve yourself with all Montrealers, because you don't want to leave anybody behind. Right now you left merchants behind, you left seniors behind, you haven't talked to a lot of people to make sure that you're respectful to all Montrealers.
I need to get to one more mobility related subject before I move on. Let me ask you, we want to develop the Hippodrome site. There could be a lot more traffic in the area. There have been calls for a very long time to extend Cavendish Boulevard. If you're elected mayor after 4 years, what is the state of the Cavendish Boulevard extension? We know that there's a lot of congestion there. We have a plan to develop more units. The connection between Cavendish to Cavendish is an issue for years. We never found the real solutions to do that because it's very complicated. We have to go under water, under the rails, or on the overpass, but it's very large. It will cost hundreds of millions of dollars. So we still have to work on that to find a good solution. But we haven't found it yet, and I'm committed to continue to
talk with all the elected officials around it to find a solution that is feasible, and we will, of course, need help in the funding of that.
You become mayor, what does Cavendish Boulevard look like in 4 years?
See, this is the difference between me and Mr. Rabouin. I see Cavendish as an opportunity for economic development, for social development, to make sure that we have 25,000 units of potential income. If you're on the corner of Jean Talon and Descaries, just imagine what it's going to look like if you don't open Cavendish. So it's not only an opportunity, but it's also a question of safety, a question of fluidity. So yes, I'm totally committed to working to make sure that we're going to do it in a way that makes sense.
To connect the two parts, Cavendish to Cavendish?
I'm committed to open up Cavendish to make sure that we have a safety road and an opportunity to develop the area.
So I just, like a Cavendish extension happens in your first 4 years, the planning, like where do you end up in 4 years?
Well, I think the first thing is making sure that we are working with all the developers in the Cavendish, making sure that we have to have 3 exits. We have to make sure that Cavendish is one of those 3.
Okay, let me move on to the economy here in our next segment. It can be argued that the city's economy is only as strong as its downtown core. Yesterday, Glenn Castanera from Montréal Centreville went on the record saying that this year alone, Montreal missed out on some 30 events because of our facilities, primarily the Palais de Congrès. It does not meet the needs of the city. They're asking for a concrete plan to push for Palais de Congrès expansion and for Chinatown and the Quartier International to be key pillars of development. I'll start off with you, Madame Martinez Ferrada. What is your plan to make Montreal more competitive against its peer cities for events that bring in incredible amounts of visitors and spending?
Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons I ran. I was Minister of Tourism. I saw everything was going on in the rest of the country. And Montreal, we were leaving behind. We're after Calgary now in terms of Congress events. We need to do better. We need to have the ambition to work with the Palais des Congrès to make sure that we have the modernizations that we need in order to be able to increase our capacity to welcome events. Did you know that 78 events happen in Toronto? Big events. 2 in Montreal. We have the capacity in the future to make sure that Montreal gets to be in the top cities in North America that will, receive big events. We have a new roof in the stadium. That's a huge opportunity coming to us. Le Palais des Congrès, second huge activity. We need to address the issue of festivals and events in downtown core, attaching the downtown core with the old port through the street of Clark, going through the Palais des Congrès. So there's amazing opportunities for us. And I think we have to have the ambition to have that vision in front of us.
What's your plan, Mr. Rabouin?
The Palais des Congrès, we are supportive of the enlargement of the Palais des Congrès since the beginning. It's a strategic issue for Montreal. Palais des Congrès is already full for the next years. Montreal is still the best place to organize even in North America. It's in Montreal with the Palais des Congrès. We are one of the top 10. 2 weeks ago, I think, we received we were named in the top 10 of the city to visit in the world. So we are a place people love to visit and love to live also in Montreal. So we also have great events. It's important. We have a debate on that at Tourisme Montréal. This is very important to have our big event. We will have next year the Championnat du Monde of cycling. This is the most important sport event in Montreal since the Olympic Games in 1976. So we are still a place to have great event. We have a prolongation for the Formula One in Montreal. We have a prolongation. We have to invest in that. We believe in that. But I will never engage $300 million to have 6 soccer games of the FIFA here in Montreal. We have to be selective about the event.
I think that leads into our next section quite nicely, because we have asked both of you to come here today with big, bold ideas. Now, in 1960, the election of Jean Drapeau paved the way for one of the boldest ideas in public transit history to come to fruition: the rubber-tired metro system that now carries 1 million people per day and is set for another expansion to open in 2031. With that in mind, we want to hear from you. We'll give each of you a couple of minutes on this. We want your big, bold idea for the future of this city. Madame Martinez Ferrada.
I think Montrealers right now, they want to dream and they want to have ambition for the city. And how can you do that if you see Montrealers sleeping in tents? We need to do both, and I agree. We need to make sure that we have the capacity to be a great metropolis, because that's what we are, and show the world that we are taking care of our most vulnerable, that we're taking care of our safety, that we're looking into relaunching our downtown core. There's almost 18% of occupancy in downtown core. We have to make sure that we're relaunching their city core. We have to make sure that people want to come in and invest in the city. Montreal and the mayor of Montreal, and I, as future mayor of the city, I want to make sure that I want to be selling the city into the wall and having people investing in the city and coming back to the city, stopping the exodus of our families, of our young kids, of our families to the suburbs. If we lose our power, political power in this city, we're going to lose it to the suburb. And this is a great island, and I want to make sure that we are taking the space, not only in the province of Quebec, in the country, and in North America, and I think we have to go back to that.
Monsieur Rabouin.
I want to do the largest collective effort in housing in the history of Montreal. The bold proposal for me is to make Montreal the most affordable city in North America. I want that Montreal become the Vienna of North America. This is something I think it's very important in that context, and it's a huge project. But I can propose other things. In the master plan of urban planning and mobility that we just adopted, Projet Montréal, and at the Municipal Council on June, we proposed a network of tramways in Montreal. This is something that we have to do because we propose to densify the city, but if we want more people, we need more public transit, strong public transit, because there's no place to have all these people with an individual car. So a network of tramways is a bold proposal. And for me, the express bus network that I want to put in place, because the city can do it alone, is the path to prepare the tramway network. And another thing, I want our downtown to be the most beautiful, green, and vibrant in North America.
I'll just let our listeners know, we started just a little bit late. We're going to be extending to 10:40, okay? So we still have about 15 minutes with you to get through our next few segments. Of course, we just tackled the big bowl ideas. Let me move on. You're listening, of course, to the Montreal election debate live on CJAD 800 with Luc Rabouin and Soraya Martinez Ferrada. Let me move on to language. Of course, it is a preoccupation of our listeners here. Now, in January, a Montreal library shut down an author's plan to host an LGBTQ plus book club because it was in English. The city said that was the law. It was only after public outcry and the provincial government saying that the city was overzealous in its application of the law that the city backed down and admitted it was wrong. I want you to listen now to Peter, who sends us this question.
If you get elected, will you show respect for all the population that includes the English-speaking taxpayers? Will you remove the manual, to the employees to how to handle English-speaking people?
Peter referencing there another story from this year that there was a manual given to City of Montreal employees to handle requests in English. So let's tackle that. We can also point to the 311 fiasco of last year where there was a very lengthy, alienating message when Anglophones would try and get services. So what will you do as mayor to ensure that incidents like this don't happen? Monsieur Rabouin.
Yeah, and we can also, everybody remember the Go Abs Go things, scandals, and the minister at the government of Quebec has to intervene. That shows that this law is it's hard to apply it because it's a complex, and the idea of the manual is to try to explain to the people who worked in different services at the City of Montreal what they have to do with this law. We did not request the law. We did not adopt this law. And we know that it's hard to apply it. But to respond to the auditor who asked this question, for me, we have to respect everybody. Montreal is a cosmopolitan city. One of the most richness that we have, it's the diversity of the population. We are proud of that. We are open-minded to the world. And we have to offer service to our people. And it's important that people feel respected and that we do everything we can to be sure that they access to services in French or in English because they need to do it when it's regarding safety, security, and other public health issue. It's absolutely necessary. But we live with the law and we try to explain to our staff how they have to apply it.
Madame Martinez Ferrada, same question, because we've had these events where it seems like city staff are overzealous. What would you do to ensure it doesn't happen again?
Well, there has to be, like, we have to understand, even in our own city and administration, that, yes, we're a Francophone city. It's the Article 1 of a charter. The Anglophone communities knows that. And it's, at the end of the day, it's also a very competitive edge in terms of a city that can have the two founding communities of the city, which is the Anglophone community and the Francophone community. I feel that the Anglophone community in the past year has not felt respected, has not felt seen and valued. And when you have a city that does a guide, it's like an overreach. It's not necessary. I think we need to not overdo what the Quebec government is asking us to do. Having the community and the Anglophone community have access to their services in English if they asked and requested. It is something that should be done.
All right, let's move on.
The problem, if we don't have a guide for the employees, everybody can do kind of things like in the library. Person take this decision. We have 28,000 of employees. We have to explain what they have to do and what they cannot do.
Would you agree with that, Madame Martinez Ferrada, that you need to have a manual guidebook in order to avoid situations?
Well, I think we can do training. We can talk. We can make sure that we, make sure that our own workers know how we can talk to our own Anglophone community. But I don't think micromanagement is the way to go. I think we just need to make sure that we implement a culture where we're respecting the Anglophone community.
Let's move on to the basics. Picking up the trash, removing the snow. Here's Ivy, lives in Lachine, and here is her question.
Like every other job in the world that I know of, there's a job description, and I would like to know if the mayor has a job description. And a comment to attach to that is I would like to see whoever's running the city do it the way the head of a household has to run a house, concentrating on the basics, not the extras.
So, Madame Martinez Ferrada, I'll let you start here.
I like the analogy on the home, because I've been using this a couple of times, where we have to see the city as your own home. When you get the visit to come, when you get people to live in your home, you're expecting to make sure that your home is clean and well presented. And I think in the past year we have lost track of that. Again, I mean, this administration, l'administration de Plan Rabouin, has not even have somebody dedicated to cleanness in the executive committee and making sure that this has been done. They have not listened. They have imposed a solution of garbage in Hochelaga that did not work. Citizens were frustrated for years, and almost 2 years. And it took an election for them to say, okay, we're going to go back and picking up the garbage once a week. We need to do better in terms of managing the basic services in our city, which is no snow removal and garbage. This administration hired many workers, more than almost 3,000 workers, 20% of professionals, but no blue collars, not even 2%. So when you talk about giving direct services, this administration has failed that.
So let me just ask you to tag on. Is there anything that you would get out of the business of? You mentioned hiring, but not of blue collars. Is there anything that you as mayor, you'd pull back? You'd cut programs, you'd cut agencies within your government?
Actually, what I would do is give the power to the boroughs to do the job. They have taken a lot of that power back to the central, which has not given the boroughs the capacity to do the job.
The basics are the basics, so we have to do it. And just it's interesting, this idea of it's like a household and you have to take care of your household. When you have a household and you have to take care of it, you also have to repair the infrastructure of the household, not just do the cleanliness, even if you have, of course, to do it. And what happened in the last 20, 30 years is that last administrations didn't care of the infrastructure in Montreal, and it's why we had so roadworks now, because we have to to do it, and it's not very sexy works, but that has to be done. When we take care of your home, you take care also for your you change your window, you take your roof, and you have to do it. And when you don't do it, you have to do it anyway in the time. And it's now we are at this time. The cleanliness. This is very important. And the major issue, I think, right now is more in downtown. They have more issue because people know the situation. And cleanliness is a clear responsibility of the boroughs. This is the basic service they have to offer to their population. And it's why downtown it's different, because downtown the mayor of Montreal is mayor of the borough of Ville-Marie, and I know that they increased the budget, $4 million budget last year, and I already announced that I will support double the funding to all the brigades, cleanliness brigades that were developed with the SDCs, not just downtown, but in Montreal, to reinforce the cleanliness where there are more people. On commercial streets, there are really more people. We have to reinforce that.
We want to give the opportunity for our listeners to get a little bit, to know a little bit more about you. So we have some rapid fire questions. For these, answer very quickly, few seconds. We just want to get some hot takes from you over the next little bit. So I'll go back and forth between the two of you. Madame Martinez Ferrada, if you had unlimited money, what big event would you bring to Montreal?
Big event? Oh my God.
Unlimited money.
Unlimited money?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? He talked about the FIFA. I think the biggest event coming in the next year will be the soccer games. I think it's not only a big event, but it would have been a huge investment. Just remind.
So FIFA World Cup would be your answer.
It would have been.
What big event would you bring if money was not an issue?
It will never happen that money will not be an issue. But I would love to have this. We have the tennis tournament here in Montreal. I would love to have all the tournament here, the men and women at the same time, just here in Montreal for all the competitions.
Madame Martinez Ferrada, favorite Montreal restaurant?
I would say in my last writing, Bagatelle.
Bagatelle. Monsieur Rabouin, favorite Montreal restaurant?
Café Miracolo on Saint-Laurent Boulevard.
What would be your last Montreal meal?
My last Montreal meal was a Thai coconut soup yesterday in a very small Thai restaurant in downtown.
Was your last Montreal meal?
Pizza.
Okay. What is, be honest here, what is the worst Montreal street to drive on?
Oh my God, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Worst Montreal street to drive on?
Notre Dame, I think it's a very good answer.
Next question comes from a listener. Have a listen. This is Bernard in Montreal with this question.
My question is that right on red is permitted off island for many years with no problems. When will Montreal follow the rest of North America and allow right on red in Montreal?
Should we have right on red?
I would say right now Montreal's not ready for that.
Should we have right on red?
No, it's a safety question.
What is your favorite architectural landmark in this city, Madame Martinez Ferrada?
Le Caldaire.
Say that again?
Le Caldaire.
Your favorite architectural landmark?
I like the Théâtre de Verdure.
What is your favorite festival or thing to do in the summer in this city?
In the summer?
Yeah.
Can I go with the winter?
Sure. Okay.
Because I feel that we're a winter city and we kind of forget that. And I think we are one of the rare cities in North America to have this big event called Igloo Fest. And I think it's one of the unique festivals in the winter. And, yeah.
Same question for you.
My preferred festival is Francophonie, and this year, for the first time, I met my daughter there. So it's generational. The young people are starting also to enjoy our festival in Montreal.
All right, we've reached our closing statements here. We're going to give both of you the opportunity to make your case one last time for our listeners. Again, we went to the coin toss, so look at it, boy. You're going to start, and Madame Martinez Ferrada, you'll end. Go ahead.
Thank you for the invitation and for your patience. Because of my English quality, I do my best, and it's an opportunity for me to be able to speak to Anglophone community. I know there's a lot of people, Montrealers, that are listening your show today, and I run into politics because I want to change things. I want to improve the situation. There are two major issues for me. Why I do it is to face the housing crisis and the homelessness crisis. Montreal has always been an affordable city for all, and I want to protect that. I want to be sure that Montreal is for everybody. I don't want Montreal to become a green city for rich people. I want that we have a green, vibrant city for everybody. This is why I'm doing politics. And I also want to have all the courage that is necessary to take this decision that we have to take now for the future generation. Climate change is not something that will happen in the future. We are already facing the effect of climate change, and I want to propose different things to improve right now and to prepare the future for my children, but also for their children. This is a responsibility we have. I want to improve the quality of life of people. I'm totally dedicated for that. The municipal level of government is the only government that I'm interested in, because I love this close relation with people. And finally, I'm ready to do it. I know the situation. I have the experience to manage a borough. We have a great team, a diverse team that are representative of the people of Montreal. We are here. We are ordinary people working for ordinary people.
Madame Martinez Ferrada.
So, thank you for the opportunity. And, English is my third language. So I'm very happy that I can...
Both of you have done a great job.
Well, thank you for that. I think this city needs to do better. I think this city can do better because we're Montreal, and Montreal is one of the greatest cities in the world. I think this administration and the Rabouin administration and Plan administration has had the time, has had the chance to make many decisions. They have their heart at the good right place. I don't think we're all Montrealers. We all think, we love the city. And I think they also do love the city. But I think in the last year, the lack of ambition and the lack of execution. And I think this time around, we can't make another mistake. We have to do better now for housing to keep our families in Montreal, not losing people in the city. We need to do better with the Montrealers that are sleeping in tents, giving them the roof they need. We need to make sure there's communities all across the city feel safe, they are safe, and the city needs to be clean. And we need to better manage our city and our money because our taxes went too very high and our services have went very low. And we need to do better. And I have the team for that. Claude Pinard from Centraide decided to run. Lester Rubber, journalist, decided to run. Many Montrealers decided to run this time around because they know that we need to do better.
Madame Martinez Ferrada, Monsieur Rabouin, I wish the both of you good luck for the rest of your campaign. And I thank you for taking the time with our listeners and viewers this morning. That concludes our election debate. We'll be right back.
As you've probably noticed, right now everyone's interested in Chevrolet. That's because